What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Etheria Restart. In today's video, we're going to be covering Yeli and how she works and how her follow-up or pursuit actions actually work and what the percentage of it happening multiple times in a row are depending on what builds you are going to be running. Anybody who's been paying attention to Etheria Restart yesterday or today in the morning have already seen Yeli's trailer or a skill trailer. So we already know what she's going to be. She has an AoE defense break on her S3. And then also every time she crits, she has a chance of triggering a pursuit or follow-up attack until the chances fail, and then she stops follow-up attacking or pursuit attacking. Theoretically, these things, if you get lucky enough, they can go forever, right? You can do 10 attacks, but you're going to have to be extremely lucky to get that to work. More than likely, you're going to be triggering 2 to 3 attacks, especially if you run her on Battle Will, because Battle Will has a 20% chance to trigger on every single hit. This also would affect characters like Lily, because Lily, whenever she basic attacks, she prompts another character to also basic attack so she can trigger it there as well. So there's going to be a lot of things that's going to make Yeli a monster of a character. Initially, I thought her multipliers were a little low, but when I saw how many attacks she can actually bust out and how frequent it's going to be, it made a lot of sense. But for people who haven't seen what she does, I'm going to go ahead and briefly go over what she's going to do over here at Prywin. First skill has a 240% damage deal to a single enemy and a 30% chance to steal a buff. The buff steal goes to 30% at level 5, so you're going to have to invest 4 lattices to get this 30%. I think the initial percentage is 10, which is really low. So if you are going to use her as a buff stealer, you are going to have to invest in the S1. But at the end of the day, she is a damage stealer. So if you actually land the buff steal, I guess it's good. But unless you're planning on hyper investing into her, then I don't think this is going to be very likely. I think even if you want to maximize her S1 damage, I think you only put 3 lattices in here to get the maximum multiplier, because it is a 20% increase in damage overall on the multiplier if you have 3 lattices on the S1. Now for the S2, after she lands a crit, this is a passive effect. After she lands a crit, she has a 100% chance to additionally cast 1 S1 on the main target after each casting of the chance of triggering the next cast reduced by 60% of the current chance. This is essentially what we are going to cover a little bit later on in the graph or in the spreadsheet. But essentially, when it starts, she has a 60% chance of follow-up, or actually she has a 75% chance to follow up without any lattices. And every lattice you invest into the skill is going to increase it by about 5%. So she starts at 75, then goes to 80, 85, 90, and 100. This is the skill that you're going to want to max out, because having this at 100% proc rate means that every time she takes a turn, she's also going to do a follow-up attack and then have a 60% chance to do another one and then another one. But we're going to actually cover what the actual percentages of these things happening later on in the video. Remember, all of these skills have the ability to steal a buff, and then all of them also have a chance to proc Battle Will. So if you launch the initial attack plus 2 skills, those are 3 instances that you could possibly trigger Battle Will as well, triggering a 4th attack. And like I said, I will discuss these numbers a little bit later. S3 is an AoE defense down. She also purifies all debuffs and gains a crit rate up for 2 turns. And then she also deals 3 hits of 120% damage. So this totals up to 360%, which is pretty high. I mean, it starts off at 100, so it'll be 300% up to 360%, and then each hit having a 35% chance to inflict a 2-turn defense down on all enemies. Now, if you max this out, this is going to be on a 3-turn cooldown. Initially, it's on a 4-turn cooldown, and she seems to be a very stat-hungry character. You want to land the defense down, obviously. You want to land the steals. So you're going to need a little bit of effect accuracy. However, there is a shell that I'm going to discuss that actually kind of helps her with this without you having to build effect accuracy, and it's a very slept on shell. I've been wanting to use it for a long time, but I guess here is where we're going to have a chance to actually showcase how good it is. It was bugged for a little bit, so I don't know if they've actually fixed it. So hopefully they did. All right, the prowess says P1 gets a 5% attack, P2 nothing, P3 another 5%, and then P5 increased damage dealt. So we don't know what this is going to be. Presumably it's going to be crit rate or crit damage, either crit rate, crit damage, or effect accuracy. One of those 3 is going to be in here. I'm pretty sure, but we're going to have to wait and see. But that's essentially Yeli. She's going to AoE defense down everybody and then launch a bunch of follow-up attacks. Now, what are the chances of those hits happening in a row, and what are the chances of Battle Will proccing depending on how many hits? So this is what this sheet is. This is the S2 with 0 lattice, 1 lattice, 2 lattice, 3 lattice, and then finally the 4 lattice investment. And then we're going to cover what the base chance of everything happening is, what the base chance of it happening in a row is, and then what is the chance of Battle Will triggering with the however many attacks you actually land, depending on the investment, right? All of this is for me to find what would be the optimal investment for a character like Yeli. And it may look a little bit convoluted. However, it's very simple. It's just S4. The S4, you go from a 90% base chance to a 100% base chance. Your actual chance of triggering extra attacks goes up exponentially. When you compare it merely from the 4 lattice to the 3 lattice investment, there's a 10% chance that you're not going to trigger the second basic attack. If you have played this game at any capacity, you know that 90% crit rate is not reliable. You will miss crit rates, especially on a character that hits once at a time. It doesn't have multiple hits. Having a higher crit rate is more important than the least amount of hits you're going to be doing. So if you miss a crit on one of those arrows, your damage is going to drop off dramatically. If you compare the 100% chance you have triggering here to a 25% chance drop off, imagine having 75% chance crit rate, and then imagine how many times you are actually going to miss that crit. That's essentially what's happening here. If you have 4 lattices on the S2, it's guaranteed that you are at least going to get 2 hits, right? Not only that you're guaranteed to get 2 hits, but you also have almost a 40%, 36% chance of triggering Battle Will as well. And if you actually get lucky and land a 60% chance to get the third hit of the attack, there's a 43% chance you're going to trigger Battle Will. If you end up triggering everything, you have a chance of getting 4 hits per action. I mean, it's a lot of hits. And again, every hit is 240 or 200%. So if you get lucky and you get a 4-hit attack, that's 800% multiplier. That's insanely high. That's more damage than if you did Didding's S3 into the S1 follow-up, because that's cumulatively a 760 multiplier. This would be 800, and it's only the basic attacks. If you do the S3 into 3 of these, that's going to be a lot more damage. It's going to be like 900 something multiplier. So her damage can get out of hand, especially when you are considering Battle Will is a thing in this game as well. So honestly, if you want to take a look at this, take a screenshot of this, take a screenshot of it, depending on what advancement you are going to be wanting to put in your Yeli, if you are going to pull for her. But my recommendation is, if you are going to get Yeli and you are going to invest in Yeli, just get the S4, the S2 4 lattices, because like if you get unlucky, right, you stop at 3 attacks. If you get decent average luck, you're going to land 4 attacks. If you get crazy luck, you're going to get 5 attacks, and you could get up to 6 attacks. And it's a 20% chance of that happening. Imagine if every time you pulled, you had a 20% chance to hit a 5-star. You would feel amazing, right? So this is pretty much what this is. You have a 21.6% chance in a row land 4 attacks, and then another 50% chance to land a 5th attack with Battle Will. I mean, this is going to be a lot of attacks. So just keep that in mind whenever you are building your Yeli, that the more lattices you put on the S2, the better she will definitely perform. And I mean, this goes for every character, right? But it's especially true for a character like Yeli that has this follow-up trigger chance tied to her S2, kind of like Rosa does. When we talk about sets and what to put on her, right? If you go to the Matrix archive, I think the no-brainer here is going to be Battle Will. Let me look it up. Battle Will here, you get 10% attack, and after the enemy's attack, 20% chance to launch a follow-up attack on the main target. This is pretty much a no-brainer. You get extra attacks, which is really good. Now, as far as the offensive sets, you do have a few options. I think Keen Eye is pretty decent. I mean, after the 3rd attack, which you have depending on your lattice investment, you have up to like almost a 50% chance or 40% chance to trigger 3 attacks per turn, not including the Battle Will. You will get the full effect of the Keen Eye if you do at least 3 attacks. If you have it maxed out, you have a very high likelihood of hitting all of the 3 damage bonuses. But the main one is that you get a 25% chance off rip, no questions asked, with extra crit damage. Momentum is good, but it really depends on how many debuffs you have. So if you can't consistently keep the debuffs up, then this will lose a lot of value. Also, you may overcap on crit a little bit, because if you have 1 crit rate piece, she already gives herself 30. That's already 70, plus whatever she does get on her own. She's going to be really close. So if you get any substats, you are very likely to overcap on crit. And also for endgame, if you are going to run Fury Edge, which is what I'm going to recommend, you're going to get an extra 12% crit rate as well. So I just like Keen Eye, Fury Edge, and if you have to pick another one, I would pick Fury, because if you land a crit, which she wants to do, you get an additional 12 damage. But definitely I would pick Keen Eye first, Fury Edge, obviously, and then Battle Will. If you don't have Battle Will, but you ended up getting the Fury pieces from the shop, then you already have crit rate, crit damage pieces for Fury, so you could run this, but I really recommend running on Battle Will. So if you can run Battle Will Fury and then running something else, that'd be great. But my main recommendation for Yeli is going to be Keen Eye, Battle Will, and Fury Edge. Or if anything, if you're going to use her to try to debuff the enemy, you can run her on Keen Eye, Battle Whale, and Swift Raid, because you do get a 20% attack and 50% speed, so you can be a little bit faster than the main DPS on the team if she is not it. Now, teammates, we have to talk about this because there is just one teammate that everybody is like up in arms about, and that is Lily. Lily with the S1 maxed out has a 100% chance to make a character assist within S1. This means that whenever Lily takes a turn and Yeli takes a turn, Yeli is very likely to go on another rampage of follow-up attacks, right? So imagine if you start off, you have a 4 lattice invested in Yeli, and then she starts off, goes for the S3, gets the defense down, goes in and gets 2 attacks, procs Battle Wheel, that's 4 attacks already. Then Lily goes, she will do it again, right? Because Lily reduces your cooldowns and shit. She'll get another 4 attacks, and then whenever Lily basics, she has another chance of triggering up to 4 attacks. 43% chance of triggering 4 attacks. And then this will happen every time Lily basics and every time she basics. So you can just fire off attacks left and right. And this is going to be, I don't know, maybe it doesn't work how I'm saying, but if it does, it's going to be incredibly powerful. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is these shells, because there is a shell that I think is very slept on, and it's because it was bugged for a little bit. But the Golden Lion, for every 2 times the owner animus is used as skill 1, which is the basic attack, increases the owner's final damage by 5% up to 8 stacks, right? So you can get up to 40% final damage bonus and up to 56 effect accuracy just by having this thing on. So you don't really need a lot of effect accuracy here, right? Because this will help you build your effect accuracy and your final damage. It also comes on Battle Whale and on Keen Eye and on Momentum and on Fury Edge and on Swift Raid. So you can actually use the Golden Lion. I have a few of these that I'm waiting to use, and this will have her dealing so much damage. Another one that you could possibly use is Revelation, since every time she acts, she has a potential to trigger the full effect of this shell, and this is one of the better shells for things like Doki Doki, for example. So you just slap her on with a lot of attack, and then Revelation is going to go crazy, especially if you're running her with a cooldown reduction character that makes her spam her S3 more often. Now, obviously, there are the traditional DPS ones. For example, White Fang could be a good one. It doesn't come in Battle Wheel, however, so I wouldn't recommend it. And then the other one is Count, that does come in Battle Wheel and on Keen Eye and all that stuff. And Count will just give you a bunch of attack and leech life. So if you do trigger this, and well, when you do trigger this, let's say she's about to die, she'll probably max heal because she's going to hit about 3 or 4 times if you have her on the S2 maxed out. So Count is actually very good. If I had to rank them, I would definitely put Golden Lion first. I would put Revelation second, and then I would do Count third here. So those are going to be my recommendations for Yeli. Let me know what you guys think. I will be pulling for Yeli when she drops, and I will be building her and testing her out for you. I will max out the S2 because I really want to test these things out. So let me know what you guys think about Yeli in the comment section below. Are you going to pull for her? What do you think about Etheria Restart? Put it in the comments. Until next time, guys. See ya.